privilege to be here. I've had the privilege of serving as Vice President of Research Grants since 2018. Dr. Jim Puryear served in this position prior to me, and Jim set up many of the policies and procedures we've used. I also have the joy of interacting with our researchers and being involved in that process to solicit and finally end up naming grant award winners each year. And so I want to talk about that today and just share with you that process. This thing really happens all year long. We get started in the summer, in July, and it ends up in our research grantees getting their awards during this annual meeting. I'm going to go through this process of what we do in soliciting grant, how we process them, how they're selected, and then finally the official awards. So what we do, usually in late July, early August, we actually send out letters to the major research institutions around the country. And the American Federation for Aging Research is kind of where we started. We've added additional research groups in recent years that have expressed interest in CART grants. And so we typically send out over 40 letters soliciting letters of intent each year so that we get good selection for our review committee to go through and decide which grants are most memorable for. So this year we received 30 letters of intent. Those came in early December of 2022. So again, a few months after the original letter was sent out. And then we took those letters of intent. We've set up a Dropbox folder. CART actually has a Dropbox folder now, and so we're able to put all of those letters of intent in the Dropbox folder, and the review committee can then pull those up, look at them, decide which ones should be finalists. So here's our scientific review committee. You heard Dr. Alan Levy's name earlier, but Alan serves as the chair of that committee. Dr. Carl Harrop, currently at the University of Pittsburgh, also serves on the review committee. And then our newest reviewer is Dr. Julie Schneider at Rush University. So those three very experienced researchers in the field of neurodegenerative diseases and Alzheimer's disease. So they actually look at all of the letters of intent. So when they go through the letters of intent, they select finalists. We can select up to 15 finalists a year. This year they selected 7 of those, and then I wrote those 7 and said, you need to send in a full application. It gives us a lot more data. The LOI is just a few pages. This one's much more extensive. And so those are sent out in early January, and then we also tell those who did not end up as finalists that they have to try again another year. So we give them until early February to get the final applications in. Again, those are put in the Dropbox folder so that our review team can immediately pick those up. That's been a huge help. You can't imagine when you're dealing with paper and having to email. By putting them in that folder, it gives the review committee ready access to them. So the selection committee selects one or more of those. This year it was by March 15th. We then had an executive committee meeting. We also met with the scientific review panel, and they gave us their recommendations. This year that happened on March 21st. And then in that meeting, we decided, do we follow what the review committee said or go a different direction? Since I've been doing this, I think we've selected what the review committee said every year. They are very, very good at what they do. They understand what the research is about. They want us to pick grants that are going to be cutting edge. So the recipients of the awards are then notified by email. This year that happened on March 24th. Same thing for those that did not make the final award. They're also told. And then here we are. Tomorrow we will actually award those grants. What happens after that? We actually have the initial check awarded shortly after this meeting. We ask the researchers to start their research in July of this year, and then every 8 months they submit an interim report that I review, also send those to the review committee for them to review, and we send the next installment check once that's been approved. They send in a financial report. We also ask them to send in a lay summary. Most of you would not be able to understand. In fact, I'm a physician. I read scientific things a lot, but these are difficult to understand. So I really put emphasis on the lay summary, and that's something that Tiffany can publish, and you can actually have some idea of what they're talking about in the research. These are our 3 awardees this year. You will see them tomorrow. You'll hear their project report. So that's been our process. As you can see, it kind of runs almost year-round, from soliciting the grants, looking at the letters of intent, getting the final applications in, and finally selecting our grant award winners.